Today we'll learn 4 different bass lines we can play over Stella by Starlight. The first one will be a 2-fill bass line with just roots and fifths. Then we're going to do a 2-fill bass line with roots and chromatic approaches. After that we will be doing a regular Walkin bass line with the roots, chromatic approaches, scale tones, and also chord tones. And finally the last one is a much more free, more kind of like a counterpoint way, where we'll be using a 2-fill line, but also mixing with a Walkin bass line and be basically doing a solo. It's very similar to what Scott LaFaro does with Bill Evans on their records. It's a very free and organic kind of bass line. So let's go to the very first one. The very important thing to remember when doing the first bass line is to just keep your lines very simple, only play beat 1 and beat 3 of each measure, and you're always going to be playing roots and fifths on that order. However, whenever you find yourself in a measure with 2 chords, you're going to be just doing root and root, because we don't have enough time to play the fifth, because we're just playing the first and the third beat. So let's check out now the second way to do a bass line, which is going to involve using chromatic approaches. And we can of course still use some fifths in between, but we're going to be really focusing on getting those chromatic approach notes. Here we go. As we can see on the second method, we are still using a lot of the 1 and the 3rd beat, but we could also embellish using some other beats like the 2 and the 4, and even use some 8 notes. So keep in mind, you're not restricted to just really use the 1s and the 3s, but make sure to really use those chromatic approach notes. Well, let's check out the 3rd way to play it. So on the third method, we can see that we are playing much more often. We are playing quarter notes throughout the whole song. And the main difference here really is the use of the scale and the chord tones. Before, we only had to worry about the first and the third beat, and we could use a root and fifth or root and an approach note. But now, since we have 2 extra beats, the beat 2 and the beat 4 to worry about, what we are doing is we usually putting the root on the first beat and then a chromatic approach on the 4th beat. So the second and the third beat are going to be the beats that you use, the scale tones or the chord tones. So make sure to have a very clear understanding on what are the scales for this tune. And if you're not sure, check out my other video and check out my Patreon to have more information about this. Let's now move to the 4th method. Here we go. The 4th method was just an improvisation that I did. It's almost a solo, as I said. It's pretty much trying to create another bass line, another melody under the current soloist or the current melody. I definitely recommend checking some of the Scott LaFaro lines when he was playing with you, Evans, as I mentioned before, to have a better idea how this goes. But this one, as you can see, is very personal, and depending how you like to express yourself, how you like to communicate on your instrument. But with that, we have 4 different ways to play over Stella by Starlight, and that's pretty much it. Have fun and practice very slowly with patience.